Look, that's what I call splashing in the pool. Everybody brought their watch to the pump house. They all borrowed 10 gallons of liquidity. They left their watch as collateral. They all dumped the 10 gallons of liquidity in the economic pool. And no matter how much velocity and transactions you manage to pull off with your chips in the economic pool, it changes nothing with respect to the fact that everybody's got to come up with 11 at the pump house to cash out.
So he's effectively steered away from this issue that C, the circulation, is not equal to P. So he's avoided having to answer that by interrupting me. And in truth, what he's just said, although the explanation I find really humorous, this pump house thing, is something that you can look back for years and years and years and years and years, back to the beginning of the formal internet and beyond. And you can find in my work that I just explained that concept, that I had explained the concept that he just provided a very bizarre form of in forums at People for Mathematically Perfected Economy. In other words, long ago, I had invalidated this concept of velocity of money can save us. It's not a velocity issue; it's a volume issue. But of course, he didn't bring that up in his purported pump house explanation. So he's not really accounting for the issues. He's sort of provided a metaphor, a very loose one, which sort of describes the predicament that you're obliged to pay principal and interest out of a circulation, which at most can be comprised of some remaining principal, as I've been saying for 43 years. Some remaining principal. The circulation does not equal P. So he's described the deficiency, but he's hardly explained it, and that's what's important to us. Because without an explanation, we can't understand it. We can't understand what is a solution of it either. We have to understand the process, which is a result of this obfuscation of the currency. So the problem isn't that the circulation P, out of it we have to pay P plus I. It's that out of a circulation C, we have, which can at most be P, we have to pay P plus I. And it's that borrowing P back into circulation as new debt equal to the old makes it mathematically impossible to pay down the sum of debt. Whereas the I that we pay out of circulation and have to reborrow back into circulation to maintain a vital circulation increases the sum of debt so much as periodic interest on an ever greater sum of debt. Those are my original ideas. He's just thrown a part of one of them back at me as if it answered to the previous question or issue, which was, does P equal C? And it doesn't. We've just explained that it doesn't. Hopefully you understand that now. But he wanted to go on to the next point, just again throwing one of my arguments back in my face. And I might say that this was an original reason that I had no interest in this let's proposition, which he's going to bring up later in this discussion. And that is, as I saw, while the people, evidently he was the person, who were promoting it, had borrowed from my reasons, they didn't articulate them even. And if they did articulate them to some degree even, it would seem to the initiate, what they failed to do was to provide an accountable articulation. And perhaps even purposely so, though I doubt that was the case here. But the reason being is that if they did provide an accountable articulation of cause and solution, it would have implied to do something else beyond this purported let's system.
So I cut you off there because I'm not getting into velocity of money and volume of action.
But you notice here, I didn't even bring up velocity of money or volume of action. And in fact, anybody who studied my work would find that I defeat those propositions or any assertion that they can help us in just profusely in my work. So he's brought this up to argue against some phantom position, as if he was discrediting me, and it's not me, so he's not discrediting it. It's irrelevant, as I've proven many times, and in fact, he doesn't do a credible job of even explaining that it's irrelevant, So he just claims this. So I'm sorry. What I'm pointing out here is, do you see what's happening? You have someone who's just pretending to, know all these things without demonstrating that they are in fact even knowable. Some of the things are true, but that doesn't mean that the whole equation is a truth itself. And that's the important thing for us to understand from not just what's been said here, which is in truth very little, but the manner of communicating. Well,
because
I don't get into velocity of money, because if you read my forums, I've invalidated its role long ago. And so,
anyway, like I said, what is it about P over P plus I that you don't think accurately models the problem?
Well, it doesn't accurately describe what the circulation is.
Yeah, but you don't need it. The point is, you only need to know the debts at the pump house. That was my point.
Obviously enough, he's not even listening carefully here. But the issue, which he says is his point, is critical for us to understand at this juncture of this discussion. Why? As I have said for so long, it's our implicit obligation to maintain a vital circulation, which is the matter at hand. Yes, the depth of the water does matter. The volume of circulation does matter. Obviously it does. Any credible person that deals with any matter like this, here's what critical thinking, it's just a regular process of doing this. This isn't a critical person. Critical thinking means understanding the issues at hand. You just don't, you're just not a tape recorder, whatever's noise is input to you is recorded in your, in some way on some media that may or may not even be permanent. No, that isn't understanding, and that isn't what is the blessing of being a human being. Our blessing is an ability to resolve issues and to just take in whatever is said or comes our way, is a very problem which has the world in the condition that it's in. What he's just said disproves that he understands the issues. Now, largely it does this implicitly, but the thing is that, first of all, is that the math isn't accountable then, because it's out of the circulation, which is not P, which is far less than P, that we understand when the curtain drops on the system. This is the very way that my models that I provided the Reagan administration predicted that this failure would transpire at approximately 2010 AD. When I say approximately, I do not mean that there was inaccuracy in the model. I mean that the pattern of reducing interest rates had to be conservatively projected to be probably a bit more than would probably transpire in history to predict an end of the system which wasn't implausible, which didn't exaggerate the rate of failure to any degree at all, because that would destroy credibility. It would be as if I was trying to be an alarmist by what were in truth valid mathematics. So I conservatively projected how much interest rates would de-escalate over that period of time to produce this projected failure at 2010 AD. But the failure transpires, and this is the part where he's so wrong here. It doesn't matter, he just said. Absolutely it matters. Because if all the money that we owe were in circulation, we wouldn't be anywhere near as bad off as we are right now. Nowhere near as bad off as we are right now. We have a tremendously crippling, deflated circulation. Far, far, far less than P. And that's the issue. It's when, in fact, the sum of artificial indebtedness gets so great that the costs of servicing it exceed the circulation and its capacity to sustain industry, that failure transpires. So it's wholly relevant to C, not to P, as he's trying to say here. And this itself proves that this is not the original idea of this man, because the idea that he has is wrong. He's relating it to P, probably, in fact, only sloppily imitating my work, which is the whole reason that he, quote, invented, unquote, LETS, as if it, quote, works, unquote, and therefore could possibly save us. But nonetheless, this relating of failure to P versus C proves it's not even, he doesn't even understand the matter, much less than is he the original author of this thesis, which he claims to have understood in this shift B phenomena that he calls it, 13 years after a 16-year-old boy brought up the fact to a high school teacher and published it in 1979. So before this character, which is still 30 years before this character has even yet to understand the actual issue. The math is wrong, therefore he hasn't identified this at all. So he just said that the circulation doesn't matter, and all of us are sufficiently critical thinkers that we can ask ourselves and resolve that question, whether or not it does, very easily. Imagine, for instance, that there is $1 in circulation. That's it, the last dollar in circulation, because we haven't borrowed all that we're paying out of circulation in the way of principal and interest back into circulation because we're in terminal failure, and now we have just $1 in circulation. Does it matter? Would it be different than if there were infinite dollars in circulation, or massive volumes of circulation, which Ron Paul is claiming is the cause of our failure, which massive volumes don't even exist? You see? This is why we've got to see to the bottom of all these imposters. We have to know what's the truth here, and it could be that I'm wrong, and if so, challenge me, don't say, oh, well, I'll just settle for this, because that's an offense against the rest of us if solution alone can save us. And that's what mathematically perfected economy has been from the beginning, a proof that one and one only solution resolves all of the issues of any prospective monetary thesis. Oh no, because these circulate.
Well, then we're going to have a lot of debate. Okay? So let's not have it now, but
right.
We'll just
that'll be fine, because otherwise we won't discuss it fresh. But let's not interrupt each other. Let's each make our points when we do this.
Okay.
And
Well, actually, I don't mind an interruption if you can do it quickly.
Oh,
it makes for entertaining debate.
Well,
let's say you see where I'm going.
Here he's going to propose that he sees where I'm going. Note, however, has he seen anywhere I'm going? In fact,